I was still in my work polo and steel-toe boots, badge clipped to my belt, when Megan came storming out of the house with my old duffel in her fists like it had personally offended her. She marched to the porch rail, gave me one last glare, and tipped the thing like she was emptying a trash can. It landed on the grass with a solid thump, then burst open. T-shirts, socks, my dad's old red flannel, all of it tumbled out like a yard sale no one wanted. Quick note, before we go on, where are you listening from right now? Drop your city or country in the comments. Then came the second bag. She didn't carry that one. She dragged it behind her like a dead dog, letting it bump down the stairs while the zipper split. My shaving kit rolled and bounced until it landed by the mailbox. "You're done here," she said, loud enough to wake the whole block. "My house, my life, figure yourself out." I didn't even have time to look shocked before I caught movement in the window behind her. Tyler Ricks, her co-worker from the marketing firm. He was standing in the bedroom window, clear as a billboard, wearing my old varsity jacket and drinking coffee from the "World's Okayest Griller" mug my daughter got me 2 Father's Days ago. He didn't even flinch, just stood there sipping like he owned the place. Phones came out fast. Mrs. Landry across the street had her lawn chair halfway unfolded before I could even blink. Arjun Patel sat on his porch with his elbows on his knees like it was game day. Donna Reese, quiet as ever, just stood on her stoop with her arms crossed and her phone already recording. I heard the little camera chimes over the wind. Megan wanted a scene. I could feel it. She wanted yelling. She wanted me to go off, give her a meltdown she could point at and say, "See? He's unstable." That's why she did it out front. That's why Tyler stood in the window like a backup dancer. I didn't give her what she wanted. I sat down on the curb next to my busted-up duffel, pulled out my phone, and scrolled to the contact I saved 3 months ago under the name Garage Repair. That was back when I started smelling someone else's cologne, seeing late-night texts with no names, and hearing that fake sweet voice she saved for strangers. "This is Colin Barrett," I said when the man picked up. "Locks changed. I need you here." He didn't ask questions, just said, 20 minutes, don't engage, just wait. So I did. Megan disappeared inside, probably to toast her new prize. The neighbors didn't leave. They didn't even pretend. This wasn't just a breakup. Everyone could see that. This was something colder. Mrs. Landry set a bottle of water by my boot and gave my shoulder a light pat. Patel gave me one slow nod, like a witness swearing in. 19 minutes later, a silver sedan rolled up. Guy stepped out in a wrinkled suit with a briefcase and a face like he'd seen too much. Walked right up to me, quiet but firm. "Mr. Barrett, I'm Gordon Tate, your father's attorney." I stood up. "She's inside?" He nodded once, walked up the path, and leaned on the doorbell. 3 slow, hard times that sounded like a warrant. Megan's heels clicked once on the hardwood before she turned halfway around, still holding the envelope like it might burn her fingers. "This is private property," she snapped, quieter now, but still biting. "You're trespassing." Gordon didn't even blink. "Actually," he said, his voice steady and just loud enough for every mic on the porch, "you're the one trespassing. I represent the legal owner." He raised the thick manila envelope again and gave it a small shake. "These are for you." She gave a laugh that didn't reach her eyes, short, sharp, mean. "I've lived here 11 years. My name is on the—" "Your name is on nothing," Gordon said, cutting clean through her sentence like scissors on fabric. He flipped open the packet and turned to a page with the notary stamp bold and centered. He held it up like a cop showing ID. "Your late father-in-law, Raymond Barrett, inherited this property in 1991. He transferred sole ownership to his son, Colin Barrett, through an irrevocable trust and recorded deed dated April 9th of last year. This was never community property." I watched her face lose all that fake confidence, just drained right out of her. That smug, practiced look she always wore when she thought she was ahead. It vanished. Behind her, Tyler stiffened. His hand twitched on the coffee mug like it was getting heavier by the second. He adjusted my jacket collar on his shoulders like it belonged to him. Gordon kept going, clear and calm. "You changed the locks. That's an unlawful lockout against the owner. Here's a temporary restraining order. He slid a second document forward. You have 96 hours to vacate. During that time, you may remove only your clothing and personal effects. No fixtures, no electronics, no documents, no tools. The word owner hit harder than anything else. It just sat there in the air. Megan looked around the porch like she expected someone to jump in and save her. All she found were phones, lenses, and silence. The street was watching like it was church, and they were waiting for the sermon to finish. Colin never told me this, she said, trying to spin it toward the audience. He hid it. I shook my head. I found out about the deed 3 months ago, I said, my voice flat. Right around the time you started clocking overtime at Tyler's apartment. Her glare came fast, sharp and familiar, the one she used to throw when she wanted me to feel small. This time, it landed with a dull thud. This is ridiculous, she muttered to Gordon. Ray would have told me. He wasn't required to, Gordon said without missing a beat. And given what we documented during his final year, his silence was smart. He pulled out another paper, this one shorter. Here's formal notice of the trust terms and your lack of any marital claim. Tyler stepped forward like he wanted to be part of the conversation. We can talk like adults. No need to... You're welcome to stay quiet, Gordon said, still not looking at him. Given your exposure. Tyler shut his mouth. Quick! Megan's voice dropped to the tone she used when she wanted something. Colin, we can work this out. I stared at her. Let the silence do the answering. Gordon cleared his throat. There's also an on-file police report ready if any property is removed that isn't on the itemized list we'll provide. Officers have been notified of the unlawful lock change. From the sidewalk, Patel spoke up, polite but sharp. I have the whole thing recorded, from when her boyfriend tossed the duffel. He lifted his phone with one hand, steady as a judge. Clear audio and video. Megan turned slowly. Her eyes hit each neighbor like they were jurors, but no one was looking away. She pressed her lips tight, took the papers with 2 fingers like they smelled bad, and backed into the living room without a word. The door stayed open behind her. Gordon didn't close the envelope. He opened it wider, like he was just getting to the part that mattered. One more matter, he said. Financial irregularities tied to this address. Megan stopped moving, just froze there in the doorway. Tyler's eyes shifted fast behind her, like I could see numbers running in his head. Over the past 3 years, Gordon read, steady and precise, there were multiple attempts to leverage this property as collateral. Because Mrs. Megan Barrett had no ownership interest, those attempts required forged signatures. My stomach dropped hard, like I'd missed a step on the stairs, but I didn't move. Gordon set a photocopy on the hall table. I leaned just enough to see it. My name was there, my signature, except it wasn't. The curve was wrong. The C started sharp instead of rounded. She never got that right. 2 applications in particular, Gordon continued. A refinance submission 23 months ago, and a home equity line application 10 months ago. Total attempted obligations, approximately $141,800. Megan let out a laugh that was too loud, too fast. People make mistakes on forms, she said. Banks don't, Gordon replied. Our correspondence with the lenders is already underway. They'll pursue the forger personally. The trust insulated the property and Colin. Tyler stepped forward again, hands up like he was calming a room. We can straighten this out without making it a whole. Sir, Gordon said, tired but firm, you may want counsel. That stopped him. Gordon slid out another sheet. Also timestamps place you at meetings where Mrs. Barrett represented herself as co-owner. That hit something loose in my head. I remembered the week I worked nights at the distribution yard, sleeping on a cot between runs. Megan had pushed me to stay there, said it made more sense. I'll handle the mail, she'd told me then. Mrs. Landry cleared her throat beside me. Is that why the mail started coming to my box sometimes? She asked, soft but curious. Couple envelopes looked important. I nodded once, didn't trust my voice. Megan's tone cracked. I took care of this house while he was gone. How else was I supposed to? Not with forgery, Gordon said, and not while removing the owner's belongings. He set a clean type list on the threshold. No drama. Just facts. Here's what you're allowed to take. Tyler looked down the street again. Phones everywhere. No one stepping in. No one buying the story. He looked at Megan, then at the papers, and I saw it click. This wasn't something you waited out. This was something that followed you. My mouth felt dry and hot, but I stayed still. Stayed upright. Ray knew, I said, mostly to myself. He saw it coming. Gordon nodded once. Yes, he did. He straightened the papers, squared the stack, and stepped fully into the house like the line had finally been crossed. Inside the house, the air smelled like vanilla candles trying to cover something sour. A stranger's cologne hung around the hallway, sharp and out of place. My boots carried me forward without thinking. They knew the distance from the front door to the kitchen. Every scuff, every soft spot in the floor, remembered. Gordon reached into his briefcase and handed me a cream-colored envelope. It had my name on it. Colin. All caps, my dad's handwriting. Square, steady, no nonsense. He wrote it before his hand started shaking at the end. That hit me harder than anything else had so far. I sat at the old oak table Ray refinished back in 2003. I could still see the uneven stain line where I had dripped varnish, and he told me to slow down. I opened the envelope. 3 pages. No fluff. Son, it started, if you're reading this, then I guessed right about how Megan would play the endgame. That was Ray, straight to the point. Even dead, it sounded like him talking to me in the garage with the radio low. He laid out the trust, why he never put the house fully in my name while my mom was alive, why he kept the title after she passed. He wrote about watching me stretch myself thin, grabbing double shifts, coming home sore and quiet, about Megan's late nights turning into mystery mornings. I didn't want to poison you against your wife, he wrote. I just wanted a clean way for you to keep the roof you fixed with me the summer you were 19. So I moved the deed when the doctor told me my timeline. My throat tightened, but I kept reading. He'd hired a private investigator, said it plain, no apology. Not because I enjoyed it, he wrote, because I needed facts when feelings get noisy. Dates, hotels, half days Megan took off while I was hauling freight by the interstate. Clean lists, no drama, just proof. The second page was instructions. Who to call? Gordon, where the trust paperwork was. Safe deposit box at Community First. What to do if the locks ever got changed, step by step. I realized I was already following it without meaning to. The last page had a check folded into it, $36,500. He wrote that he turned down a couple aggressive treatments near the end. Money saved, pain skipped, time traded for a cleaner exit and a cushion for me. Don't argue, he wrote. I did the math and made my peace. Use it to breathe, fix the fence, or start something that helps men like you who get blindsided and don't have a plan. I read the letter again, then once more. My jaw locked the way it used to when I tried not to cry on the Little League bench after striking out. Ray had seen it coming, all of it, and instead of yelling, he built me a map. Gordon stayed by the doorway, giving me room. He was sharp, he said quietly, even when he hurt. I folded the check back into the pages, slid the letter into the pocket over my heart, and stood up. All right, I said. Let's go finish this. I headed for the front door. We stepped back outside into the low buzz of a neighborhood, pretending it wasn't staring. Megan was already in motion, shoving clothes into black lawn bags like she was racing a clock only she could see. Fabric ripped once. She didn't slow down. Tyler hovered near the porch steps, shifting his weight, hands useless, eyes scanning for exits. Gordon handed Megan a clipboard and a pen. Initial each page, he said. You acknowledge receipt of notice, the 96-hour window, and the inventory rules. She snatched it and started scribbling, hard enough to tear paper. That's when tires crunched behind us. A blue pickup eased in and parked behind Gordon's sedan. Engine off, door opened. A woman stepped out. Late 30s, hair pulled into a tight knot. Shoulders squared like someone who'd learned how to stand her ground the hard way. 2 kids leaned forward in the back seat, faces pressed to the glass. A boy and a girl. Tyler! the woman called. She didn't raise her voice, but it carried. "We need to talk." Tyler's whole body sagged. Her eyes slid to me. "Mr. Barrett?" she asked. "I'm Alyssa Ricks." She held up a folder thick with paper. "I've been trying to serve him for 8 months. "Alyssa, don't do this here," Tyler said. His voice shrank down to nothing. "Here is where you moved," she replied. "Here is where you bring my kids presents they never see." She nodded back at the truck. "Evan's 11, Molly's 7. They've got questions." Megan froze mid-stuff, eyes bouncing between them like a trapped animal. "You said you were divorced," she hissed at Tyler. "He isn't," Alyssa said flatly. "Not even close. 3rd time he's tried this too. New town, find someone with a house, talk about residency and rights, then disappear before the bill comes due." Tyler shook his head too fast. "That's not—" Gordon was already writing, not even pretending otherwise. Alyssa stepped closer and pressed the folder into Tyler's chest. "Divorce filing and custody modification. You sign today, or the judge sees all of this. The disappearing act, the joint account you drained, the addresses you hid." The kids stayed quiet in the truck, that quiet kids get when they've heard too many adult arguments already. The boy wiped at his face with his sleeve. The girl hugged a worn, stuffed rabbit to her chest. My stomach went cold, sharp, and sudden. "Did you know he was married?" Alyssa asked me. I shook my head. "Found out 10 minutes ago." She turned to Megan. "Did you?" Megan swallowed. Her mouth opened, closed. "He told me he was out." Alyssa's lips pulled into a tight, humorless smile. "He tells everybody that." Tyler tried one last pitch about love and change and fresh starts. It came out thin, like air leaking from a tire. Alyssa didn't blink. "Sign," she said. "The kids deserve an adult." He signed. The pen scratched loud, rough, final. Evan ducked his head. Molly squeezed the rabbit tighter. Megan stood there in my yard, clipboard dangling from her hand, eyes already working on a new angle, fewer exits this time. Gordon closed his notebook, and the street stayed quiet, waiting for what came next. Megan stomped toward me like the ground owed her something, dragging her pride behind her like it had weight. That fake smile was back, the sharp one she used in arguments she thought she'd already won. "Congratulations," she said, voice full of venom, sweeping her arm toward the house like she was handing over a condemned building. "You and your dead father win. Enjoy your little victory." I kept my hands at my sides. "It's not a little victory," I said. "It's the deed." Her face twitched. She switched lanes fast, pulling out the tearful voice like it hadn't worn thin years ago. "Your dad never liked me." "He watched you," I said. "There's a difference." Behind her, Tyler stood hunched and useless. Now papered up and exposed, he pulled my old jacket tighter like maybe it would shrink him. Alyssa gave him one last glance that said everything. Then she looked at me. "I'm sorry you're in the blast radius," she said, soft but solid. "I hope you land on your feet." "I will," I said, and I meant it deep, in a way I hadn't all morning. She nodded once, walked to the truck, and loaded her kids in without needing help. Evan gave me a long look. Molly waved once with the stuffed rabbit. Then the truck pulled away. I didn't look down until it turned the corner. Gordon cleared his throat just loud enough for Megan to hear. "We'll be photographing each room, then supervising removal of personal items. Anything left after 96 hours becomes the homeowner's property to dispose of." Donna Reese raised her phone like a receipt. "I've got footage from when she threw his bag and said, 'My house, if the DA needs it.' My niece works there," Patel added, arm lifted. "Priya Patel. I'll route it with timestamps." Megan's head snapped from phone to phone like she was surrounded, her face cracked at the edges. "All of you are pathetic," she spat. "You don't know anything about our marriage." I looked at the lawn bag sagging along the sidewalk like a line of garbage waiting for pickup. "They know what you did on my porch," I said. She turned on her heel and made for the door, shoulder forward like she meant to bowl through. Gordon didn't block her, just stepped sideways and pulled the list from his folder. "Clothing, toiletries, and your laptop," he said. "That's it." Tyler mumbled something about heading to his brother's place. No one stopped him. Megan didn't even look his way. Two scammers with no script left. She came back down the steps with one duffel and her laptop in her arms, looked me straight in the eye. "You'll regret this," she said, cold and bitter. I almost laughed. "You regret it already," I told her. "You just don't want to say it on camera." After Gordon finished the walkthrough and handed me a binder thick enough to break a shelf, deed, trust papers, TRO, lender letters, I stood in the kitchen and finally breathed like a man who had been underwater for too long. My boots were still on. The house was quiet, not peaceful, just empty in a way that didn't scare me anymore. The next morning, I called my boss at the yard and took 2 personal days. First ones I'd used in years. He didn't ask questions, just said, "Take what you need." Then I called the employee assistance line, the one I'd shoved in a drawer and pretended didn't exist. A calm voice picked up. I said, "Yeah, I'm ready." Ray's letter wouldn't leave me alone. That line, "Start something," just kept knocking around in my head. So I did. I called 3 guys I trusted, men who'd told me their own stories in quiet corners. Luis from receiving, Nate from night shift, and Barry, the forklift mechanic. They all had that same hollow look at one point. The kind you only get when the person you built your life with tries to bury you in it. We met in my garage on a Saturday. Nothing fancy. 6 folding chairs, a pot of coffee, a box of gas station donuts. I made a handout and printed a name on top, Second Shift Brotherhood. Because naming a thing makes it real. We didn't talk like therapists. We talked like men who'd been hit hard, property rights, freezing accounts, changing passwords without setting off World War III. What to say when the kids start asking why daddy's on the couch, or why mommy's car smells like someone else's cologne. I took $3,800 from Ray's check and brought in a family lawyer, Marla Kane. Tough, sharp, didn't waste a second. She came in once a month, pro bono, did Q, and as for the guys who couldn't afford to be wrong again, another $1,200 paid a CPA to teach basic financial control, how to spot red flags in bank statements, how to separate assets clean, how to make sure your paycheck wasn't funding someone else's secret life. Word got around. By week 8, we had 14 men, a welder, a school custodian, a charter bus driver who barely made eye contact at first, but asked the smartest questions. No speeches, no tears, just plans. I sent the porch videos from Donna and Patel to Priya Patel at the DA's office through Gordon. She replied fast. Received, very helpful, keep everything. Megan's divorce papers came by courier in week 4. She didn't fight it. No spousal support, no counterclaims. Not with that forgery stain hanging off her like a soaked coat. Tyler vanished out to his brother's place past the county line. No one asked for him, and me. I kept Ray's letter on my dresser. Every time I looked at it, I heard his voice in my head. Keep your head down, do the work, let the paper trail talk. So I did. Gordon called the following Thursday while I was tightening a loose gate hinge. Update on the lenders, he said. They isolated the forged signatures to 2 applications. They'll pursue her directly. The trust held. No liens attached to the house. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Priya filed the police report, he added. Unlawful lockout, full video included. She said if Megan violates the TRO, call immediately. The next day, Megan texted. Just one line. We can just be decent about this. I didn't reply. Gordon told me not to. I followed his advice to the letter. I changed every password, banking, insurance, my Apple ID. I pulled her off every form where she used to be my emergency contact. Then, I closed the joint card she used for client meals that always seemed to include filet mignon and cocktails at places with valet parking. I mailed a clean, sharp envelope to Brenda, her mother. No note, no explanations. Just the porch videos, the court date, and the copy of the TRO. This was the same woman who used to look me dead in the face and say, "Man up, Colin, work harder." Didn't take long for word to spread. 2 of Megan's friends stopped me in the grocery store parking lot. One of them used to call me Cole Dunn behind my back. Now she looked like she'd swallowed a pin. "We didn't know," she said. "Now you do," I said, and kept walking. 3 months later, Alyssa sent me a photo. Evan and Molly, standing in front of a brick school with their backpacks on, smiling like the world hadn't cracked beneath their feet. No caption, none needed. I printed it and taped it to the garage wall above my workbench. That picture reminded me who actually paid the price for Tyler and Megan's lies. The kids. The ones who needed adults, not actors. Second shift. Brotherhood kept going. We added 2 more chairs. Luis finally got a place and stopped sleeping in his Civic. Nate rerouted his paycheck before his ex could clean it out again. Barry filed a protection order after his wife keyed his truck and slashed all 4 tires in a church parking lot. We didn't cry about it. We just made a plan and moved forward. I put what was left of Ray's check into a separate account and labeled it Ray's Plan. Used $9,000 to finally replace the roof he and I patched half a dozen times. He'd wanted to do it right before he got sick. Felt good to finish that for both of us. Megan showed up on day 97 with some cousin I'd never met. She had that casual tone like we were still married. "Just here to grab a few more things," she said. Gordon didn't even answer. He flagged the patrol car like we'd arranged, and the officer walked over with a clipboard. He didn't raise his voice, just said, 96 hours is up. She stood there, frozen. Didn't argue, didn't speak, just left. That was all I needed. 18 months after the bags hit my lawn, I hosted Thanksgiving. Not a big show, just what fit. 13 guys from the garage circle, Donna and Mrs. Landry, Patel and his niece Priya, plus the neighbor kid who helps me rake every fall. We dragged every chair in the house into the living room, laid out food on 2 sawhorses with brown paper taped across, and ate like people who'd been starving for something besides food. The guys brought their kids. Some sat on the floor with plates in their laps. It worked. Janine came too. She teaches middle school history and lost her husband to a stroke 4 years ago. We'd been meeting for coffee on Sundays, sometimes walking the neighborhood in quiet. No promises, no pressure, just 2 people not pretending. In the hallway, I'd framed Ray's letter in a cheap black frame, hung it where I pass it every morning in my work boots. I still hear the line when I look at it. Use it to breathe, start something. So I did. Second shift grew to 21 guys. We got one man his tools back from a storage unit his ex tried to flip. We sat with another in family court so he wouldn't be alone. Helped one father set up auto transfer so he could pay child support without having to talk to his ex at all. No applause, just steady moves. Megan's a story now. A quiet warning people share in break rooms. "Don't pull a Megan," someone will mutter when a guy starts talking slick about hiding a bonus check or opening a side account. Tyler, he's a cautionary tale kids whisper about at the soccer field. I don't follow those stories. I don't need to. The house tells the only one that matters. I still fix things here. The back steps, the shed door. That section of gutter Ray and I swore we'd replace back in 2006. When I'm on the ladder, I see Patel rocking on his porch, Donna putting up lights, Mrs. Landry waving through the glass with a dish towel. They showed up for me. I show up for them. Shovel their snow, lift their boxes, change their bulbs. After the pie, Janine stood beside me at the sink while the game buzzed low in the other room. She pointed to the framed letter. "He sounds like he knew you pretty well." "He did," I said. Later, before everyone left, I stood in the doorway and looked at the faces. Men who'd come in shaking and were now upright. Kids giggling with pie on their faces. Neighbors who never looked away. I don't feel triumphant. I feel steady.